This is my tier list for set 8. I'm gonna be starting with the S tier decks, which are the best decks in the format right now. The first deck I'm gonna put is Chronojet. Chronojet gets a bunch of draws from the GG and Swirler combo. He also has a crest that gives power to his front row, and he can also stride. One of his strides is next stage, which allows him to have two Vanguard attacks. First with a triple drive, second with Chronojet, which has a Sentinel restrict. Next is Youthberg. Youthberg gets a lot of plussing from Tempest, and also he doesn't lose on discard skills since he can just discard Wayward Angel. He gets a lot of soul from Sequana and Revel Dressing, and with Revel Dress he gets two Vanguard attacks. I think the only small problem is sometimes if he doesn't get the pieces that he needs. The third is Eva. Eva got a new grade 2 Obscudite that attacks the front row. She has a new research order that looks at the top 5 cards of her deck and calls one, which is very good since it activates Obscudite skill, which allows her to which allows the Obscudite to get a crit on her first grade 3 turn. Eva can also look around the top 3 to 5 cards of her deck and add anything from her hand. She has counter charge. She has a lot of counter charge, and she also got some more support in set 8, which is Wavy Loss, which is a Soul Blast 2 draw 1, 13k power, and a Bent Robust, which allows her to search her research order. And I think these 3 decks are the best, and it's very hard to compete with these 3 decks. Moving on to A. I think A tier decks are decks that has a high chance to top and is competitive. The first one I'm gonna put in A tier is Lutetia. Lutetia is a restanding Vanguard on turn 3 if she already has the 4 orders in her soul. Her rearguard columns are very big, and she can reuse Nostria and save her Nostrias using Eureka, which bounces it back to hand. And Eureka can also add back rearguards to hand, so if you do soul charge PG, OT, or Persona Ride, you can just call it using your order, and then you can add it back to hand with Eureka. The next deck is Dragonic Overlord the End. Dragonic Overlord the End is a restanding Vanguard as well, but is on turn 4. And so that means your Persona Ride is on turn 5. So the deck is a bit slow, but it is very consistent, and it has a new promo card, or a bit new, the Ragritter Hub, that counts as 2 cards when discarded and is called to a rearguard circle. Minerva is a restanding Vanguard if the opponent is grade 3. So that's her only restriction, but she has multi-attacks by soul blasting certain units, and she is fairly consistent because of her ride line, and her front row gets 5k. I think Gravidia is still A tier because sometimes she can just auto win even though you have a PG. If she does her 5 meteor turn with the crit and then she gets crit OT, you just lose. She can retire 5 rear guards every turn, but she's very reliant on Persona Ride. Flagberg is the next one. I think Flagberg is also A tier. He has a multi-attack, he retires 2, and he also has a 3 card guard restrict. And since he has Arix, he doesn't need to rely on CB anymore, and Inlet was made for him, so yeah. He has Inlet. Recently, Inlet has been unrestricted to Magnolia. I've only seen some games but haven't tested it yet, but the deck list is almost the same as before, and I think the decks have catched up to it. I think it's around the A to B tier. It's either low A or high B. You know, he has 6 attacks and many draws. Uh, so that's all for the S and A tier decks. I'm gonna be going to B tier, which are, I think, good decks that are decent, you know. Still good, but just not as good as the ones on top. I think first is Kyrie. Kyrie has fallen off. She needs she's still a grade 4 deck, so she has triple drive, but you need to get the grade 4. And she has 5 attacks, but she bounces cards to hand, and her 5 attacks are decently have decent power. Another new deck in this set, Luquir. I think Luquir is very good. She has her attacks are very powerful, and she can do 4 attacks. But the only problem is she needs to get the grade 3 order. And she also can call cards from Soul and puts cards back to Soul to draw. Next is for B tier. Another one would be Balsagra. Balsagra has big attacks because of the Trick Moon and Oshnia, but she only has 3 attacks. She she can get she gets many draws because of the spear, and she can I think like recycle it, and then she gets a crit and retires the front. Next is, I think, Shaman King. I'm not sure of the other decks, but Yo, I think, is alright. He rushes very, his rush is strong. He has a full field by grade 2 mostly, hitting with big numbers that are hard to guard. Michu is also good. She hits for good numbers. She technically has she has 2 Vanguard attacks by switching Michu and Nocto. And yeah. I think I'll go with the grade 4 decks. I think for the grade 4 decks, they're almost the same power level with each other. I think they're good since they have triple drive, but you need to get them. So you need to be able to get the grade 4, and a lot of the decks can play around them or counter them these days. Another deck in B tier is the Druid. I think the Druid's good. His rush is very strong. On his grade 3 turn, he reduces your Vanguard's power to 1. He also gets a grade crit if you're grade 3 already, and then he has a restanding rear guards, which allows him to have 5 Vanguard attacks if he has 2 Rock Agors. I think I will count this as Orphis Regis. Orphis Regis recently did very well in Worlds. But two out of the two Orphis that joined Worlds went to top 8, and one of them went second place. Orphis is a rush deck with he makes multi-attack using his shadow tokens, which the shadow tokens become very big, but has little hand and he needs a lot of orders. This is Tamayura. In set 8, Tamayura got the new grade 1 twins, Ririmi and Rarami, that is very good for the deck, that allows the columns to go back to Soul. She also got a new grade 3 order that Soul Blasts and allows her to call the Ririmi and Raramis from drop. And also a new PR, Broken Toys, that is a searcher and allows her and replaces itself with a draw. I think the only problem with Tamayura is you need 3 CB. Even though she got a counter charger, the counter you still need 3 damage for it to do the full combo, and the counter charge is only once per turn. Next is PBO. PBO got PR, Emeline, um, Emeline is, I think, searches for blasters, so blast for check top 5 and then gets plus 5k for every attack of blaster. And then Barrow, I haven't seen much about Barrow, but I think it's still very good. He rushes to 15 soul, has a small hand size, but he gets a crit, and then his rear guards hit big. Next in B tier, Greedon. Greedon has multiple Vanguard attacks by putting 4 cards, 4 standing rear guards to soul. And then a new deck from this set, they put back Maelstrom in Vanguard, which recycles Inlet and gets a bunch of plussing and draws. He switches rearguard positions and have multi-attacks. But I think the only problem is his attacks are not that big and gets shut down easily by a defensive trigger. So I think these are the B tier decks. Moving on to C tier, which I think are casual decks. They're playable, but it's very hard to compete with them. But it's not impossible to top with these decks. First is, I think, Roroa. Roroa got in set 8. He got a new Radelina that enables him to get 1 more attack. He also got a order. I'm not sure if the new orders used much. Red Zorga. If you get the Prison Dragons early, you can rush with your rear guards with crits. He can Alchemagic consistently as well, compared to Blue Zorga. Tegria got a new grade 1 Maple, but is locked to Persona Ride, and a new order that makes the deck faster. But I think it's still not enough to put her in like the top decks. Maybe she can be like here. Kyoko is the magazine orders. And I think in this tier I have less knowledge on most of the cards. The runner is the one who uses the songs. Sentinel Restrict, Decent Shield. She can also stand her rear guards. Just Sentinel Restrict is always scary in overdress. Clarissa, I think sometimes can just pop off, but you need to commit to a field. Her field gets +5, and she has restanding rear guards, and she attacks 3 units at the same time, and for each unit hit, she gets to draw. Hexa Orb had a PR that allows her to counter charge, but I think her only pressure is when she has a booster, since you can put power to the booster, which makes it very hard to pass your Vanguard. Eugene in set 7 got Oswald that allows him to restand, but Oswald reduces the drive and crit to 1 of the and opponent also needs to be grade 3 just to restand. But I think that helped Eugene a lot. We have B heroes. I think B heroes got Abent Robust, which allows them to search the base now. Heroes can do 4 attacks using Foriel, and he can get stuff from base and guard with the stuff in the base. So that's really good. Then Herminia, the powerful deck. She also rush and with a small hand size, but she needs to use all her CB and soul charging. And soul. Fortia, Restanding Vanguard is the friends deck. Leonorn, her back row boosts her. The whole back row boosts the Vanguard, and she can have 4 attacks with Resonance Dragon. And then Archite, you need to rush with magic numbers, and you can search monsters, and then when you place them while you're grid 3, they get 10,000 power, so they can get really big. And then Shoujo Doji fills up the field on grade 2 turn and can bind 2 of your opponent's rear guards, but the bound rear guards will be added back to their hand. So after his grade 2 and his first grade 3 turn, I think he struggles a lot. And then I think Hasrit is decent. I think she bought decks rear guards and draws. And then I think the remaining decks, some of these decks are really bad, but some just need a few more support cards. I guess some can be debated to be on C, but mostly in D tier they just need to these decks just need more support. Ebisu, she was good, but we don't have this in English, but she was good before in Japan until she got hit with the restriction for her counter charger. And yeah, I think that's all for my tier list. Thank you for watching.